So one of the things that it is really important to remember when you're working with somebody in a healing space, and again, it's trying to elicit their own healing mechanisms rather than trying to do anything to them, is they're animals. They act like animals. They, have very basic biological reactions as well as animals do. And so, there's certain aspects of that that are significant. One is, if you just think about pheromones. Do you know what pheromones are? They're like your cloud of chemical communication that you present relatively distant. And, people don't tend to be very aware of their sense of smell. But in the meantime, everybody is wandering around in this rather dynamically moving signaling cloud, which everyone else can perceive, although you perceive it in a very deep part of your brain that's not up in the cortex, it's more in the midbrain. And, when you're in sort of the space with somebody, you really are communicating in that place. And that's, when you're actually working with animals, it's very clear that, when they come in and you, they're very aware of all kinds of signals that you're giving sort of at a distance. And I think that's really true for people as well. And so you need to sort of understand that, if you, for instance, if somebody came in and you said, you were thinking to yourself, man, that person looks like they're nasty, right? And you didn't even think that you were doing anything to present that, you probably are. You're probably communicating it to it through all kinds of, nonverbal signaling or, direct pheromones or feelings of aggression or any of those things. And so, that's, again, I think where we talk about this concept of unconditional positive regard, is that, it's not the case that people can read your thoughts, but it is the case that you present a whole bunch of signals to people about how you perceive them, which, could interfere with their process. So, it's coming back to that place of just, welcome you, whoever you are, wherever you are, in what place that you are, and you do it from a sort of a deep place in yourself, partially so that you're not communicating all this other stuff that you have no idea that you're communicating.
Yeah. I think that people, human beings in general, just get so uncomfortable with the reminder that we are animals and we have that pheromone and basic instinct, and so it must be interesting to have people have that almost have to have that realization when they're being treated that they're not entirely in charge of what's going on because it's biology.
Right, and there's some really important parts too where that comes into play, because one of the other things about people is they're primates, and you're dealing with touch modality, and touch, to a certain degree there can be this tremendous vulnerability. You're asking somebody, you're not asking them to take off their clothes in this kind of work, but you're asking them to lay down on the table, and then you're going to be kind of maybe looming over them in some way, all of which can be seen as threatening. So the whole process of making a kind of an animal-to-animal rapport is really important. And also, there's all kinds of evidence in the animal behavior world how important the sense of touch is to primates, because there's all this sort of social touch that happens. And, all kinds of things about stress chemicals that are produced when animals aren't touched, and all kinds of other things about status and who gets touched and all these other things that are really still a part of our world, although we're not that aware of them, but are completely applicable to the situation where somebody is in your office and you're touching them.